Wednesday, January 27th, 2021 meeting of the York Regional Police Services Board. And welcome everybody to the new year. We have Jyoti Sahota from our ministry representative with us today. And welcome to you. We always like to see you with us. Thank you very much. Our first item of business is the swearing in of our board member, a new board member, Norma McCullough. It's my pleasure to welcome Norma McCullough to the Police Services Board. Mrs. McCullough was appointed to the York Regional Police Services Board by the Regional Municipality of York for 2 years, commencing January 1st, 2021. Norma's career and her community involvement is extensive and impressive. Norma was employed with the Ontario Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services as a probation and parole officer until 2015. She was a member of the Probation and Parole Officers Association of Ontario and was awarded the Correctional Services Exemplary Service Medal. Norma's career and volunteer work span over 5 decades. She has experience working with many diverse communities. She has also served on the Center for Addictions and Mental Health Advisory Committee and facilitated a workshop on offender rehabilitation in the community for the National Black Police Association in Los Angeles. Norma also served as a member of the Advisory Committee for the Metro Addiction Assessment Referral Program and has served on the York Regional Police Community Advisory Council for 31 years, including serving as chair. Norma was a member of the Richmond Hill Rotary Club for over 8 years and a member of the St. John Ambulance Brigade in York Region for more than a decade. Norma is currently a member of the Association of Black Law Enforcement and has served on their executive board and was the first law enforcers service officer. She is also a committee member for the advisory board for the Newmarket Seniors Meeting Place and has been a member of the Altar Guild, Flower Guild, and choir of several Anglican church in Toronto and in York Region. Along with her husband, Ms. McCullough has served on the executive and archivist of her husband's regimental association, Jimmy and Associates, for over 10 years. Norma earned a Bachelor of Social Work from York University, a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Sociology from the University of Toronto, and a certificate in conflict resolution from St. Xavier University in Chicago. Norma married her husband in 1968, and they have one son who is married. Her family moved from North York to York Region in 1983. Norma, we welcome you to our board and look forward very much to working with you on important governance and community issues. And with that, I will ask that we swear her in, please.
Thank you, Chair Haxon. Ms. McCullough, it is my very great honor to preside over your swearing in as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board. I'd like to begin with the oath, and I will read the oath, and if you could kindly repeat after me,
yes,
that would be excellent.
Okay. Yes.
I, Norma Jean McCullough, solemnly affirm.
I, Norma Jean McCullough, solemnly affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen. Do you want me to keep going? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I'll read it, and if you could repeat or after me, that would be fine. If you prefer to read it entirely, that would be fine as well. It's your choice.
I will just go after you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taking up where we left off, and that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada.
And that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada.
And that I will, to the best of my ability.
And that I will, to the best of my ability.
Discharge my duties as a member.
Discharge my duties as a member
of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board
of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board
faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act,
faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act,
any other act, regulation, rule, or bylaw,
any other act, regulation, rule, or bylaw.
and if you could kindly sign the oath, I will remotely commission it.
Okay. Okay. There we go.
And if you could kindly show me your signature,
There you go. Can you see
lift it
it?
up just a tiny bit
There.
and a tiny bit more. There it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Some of the challenges that we have during the pandemic.
Yes.
Now to turn to the oath of secrecy, and we'll do the
Yes.
same process. I will read each individual part of the oath, and if you could repeat after me.
Okay.
I, Norma Jean McCullough,
I, Norma Jean McCullough,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will not disclose any information obtained by me
that I will not disclose any information obtained by me
in the course of my duties as a member
in the course of my duty as a member
of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board,
in the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board,
except as may be authorized or required by law.
except as be authorized or required by law.
And now if you could sign the oath.
Okay. Okay. There. Can you see it?
Perfect. I can
Okay.
see it perfectly. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you, and welcome to the
Thank
board.
you.
Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Welcome, Norma. I'm not sure if there's others that would like to say a few words before we go into our agenda. Perhaps Chair Emerson?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, Norma, welcome. We are very pleased that you are willing to sit on this board and help us direct as best possible we can to the York Regional Police. And so we welcome your experience and going forward and your sincereness of everything you have done, as Mayor Haxton has read out, and it's quite a lot of accomplishments. So we want to thank you again. So congratulations, and we got a little bit of work to do in the next couple of years. And but I know the board will rally, and I know that the YRP under the leadership of Chief McSween will do an excellent job, and we'll be in good hands. So once again, thank you, Norma, and look forward to working with you over the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having the confidence in me, and I shall work as diligently as I can, as I always have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could just say hello to
Yes, please,
Bella.
Chief.
And congratulations, Norma. As was referenced in some of the bio there, you have a long-standing relationship with York Regional Police through our Police Community Advisory Council. And I'll just echo Chair Emerson, Chairman Emerson's comments as well, to say we look forward to working with you over the next several years. And no different than we have over the past, I guess, 31 years on PTAC is what I heard, which is a long haul, but
Long haul.
really look forward to it. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
Anyone else that would like to? I know we'll see Norma at a variety of times. So if not today, but if there is someone that would like to say a few words, just let me know now.
Virginia, I'll just say welcome, Norma. Looking forward
Thank you.
to working together.
Thank you so much. So do I. Thanks.
Okay. With that, we will move along to our 2021 election of board. It's for chair and vice chair. We do this every year, and I will turn this over to our executive assistant, Mafalda Avellino. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome Mrs. McCullough as well, and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you as well. So in accordance with Section 28 of the Police Services Act and the board's procedure bylaw, I will act as the presiding officer until the board elects its chair for 2021. We will now proceed with the election of the board chair. And I now invite nominations for the position of chair of the board for the year 2021.
Aldo, I'd like to move Mayor Haxton to be the chair of the York Region Police Services Board. Mayor Haxton has shown great leadership over the last quite a few years sitting on this board, and I think none better. But Mayor Haxton and I have had a good long talk, and Mayor Haxton's term will be ending in May, and Mayor Pellegrini from the Township of King will be coming on. So Mayor Haxton, I think it's only fitting that you finish out the term of on sitting as chair and on the Police Services Board. So I will so move that Mayor Haxton be the chair of the York Region Police Services Board.
Thank you, Chairman Emerson. May I have a seconder, please? Mayor Bevilacqua? Mayor Haxton, do you consent to your nomination?
I do.
Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations? Is there a motion that nominations for the position of the chair be closed? Mr. Purchell, Ms. Fang, all in favor? That's carried. Is there a motion that Mayor Virginia Haxton be elected as chair of the Police Services Board for the year 2021? Chairman Emerson and Mayor Bevilacqua, all in favor? It's carried. I declare Mayor Virginia Haxton of the town of East Gwillimbury as chair of the Police Services Board for the year 2021. Congratulations, Chair Haxton.
Thank you. Thank you. And we also will have an election for the vice chair in accordance with the board procedure bylaw as well.
So Mayor Haxton, Chair Haxton, I'd be honored to move Mayor Bevilacqua from the city of Vaughan. Mayor Bevilacqua has been sitting on it. He's a little green under the collar yet, but I think with being able under your leadership, sir, ma'am, you will be able to steer him in the right way and going forward. So I will so move my good friend, Mayor Bevilacqua.
Thank you, Chairman Emerson. May I have a seconder, please? Ms. Bang. Mayor Bevilacqua, do you consent to your nomination?
I do. Thank you.
Are there any further nominations? I don't see any. Is there a motion that nominations be closed? May I have a mover? Mr. Purchell, Chairman Emerson. Is there a motion that Mayor Bevilacqua be appointed as Vice Chair of the Police Services Board for 2021, as moved by Chair Emerson and Ms. Fang? All in favor? That's carried. I now declare Mayor Mauricio Bevilacqua from the City of Vaughan as Vice Chair of the Police Services Board for the year 2021. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for your support, and also want to congratulate the chair for the hard-fought campaign to become chair.
Thank you and welcome. Great to have you as vice chair. I'm not seeing any other comments at this time, so we'll move along. We have a full agenda today. And so with that, thank you very much for your confidence in me, and I'll do my very best to move us along as we do every month. With that, we are at item 4, and that's the confirmation of the public minutes from November 25th, 2020. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mayor Bevilacqua and Ms. Fang, all those in favor? And that's carried. Confirmation of our public minutes from December the 9th, 2020. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mr. Purchall, Ms. McCullough, all those in favor? And that's carried. We are at presentations. I have no presentations listed. Is that correct?
No presentation.
Thank you. And I
You're muted, Madam Chair.
thank you. And we're down to communications, and the first one is 8.1. Are there any questions regarding 8.1? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ms. Fang, Mr. Purchall, all those in favor? That's carried. Item 8.2, correspondence from Jim Hart, Chair, Toronto Police Services Board, dated January 5th, 2021, regarding the request for a review of the province's use of force. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ms. McCullough, Mayor Bevilacqua, all those in favor? And that's carried. Item 8.3, correspondence from Mario Tomaso, Deputy Solicitor, Community Safety Minister, the Solicitor General, dated January 8th, 2021. Any questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ms. Fang, Ms. McCullough, all those in favor? And that's carried. 8.4, correspondence from Stephen Leach, Independent Police Review Director, OIPRD, dated January 19th, 2021, regarding strip search policy update. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ms. McCullough, Mayor Bevilacqua, are there any questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. 8.5, correspondence from Bajam Rafi, Executive Director of Canadian Centre for Men and Families, York Region, dated January 8th, 2021. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mayor Bevilacqua. Chair Emerson.
Yeah, Madam Chair, it says on the last paragraph or so, it says it wanted us to respond. I think it did. I remember reading that. So I'm just wondering whether, the Chief, did you want to say anything on this? Have we responded before or not? Quite a long, but I believe it said something in the bottom.
Yeah, Chairman, thank you. What I'll do is we can respond and we will, but I'll turn it over to Deputy Bigra. He has a little bit of information to provide on this. And so Deputy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chief. I was just looking to find my unmute button. So thanks for everyone's patience. What I did want to do is just assure the board and assure the community that YRP investigates each and every domestic violence occurrence or intimate partner violence occurrence on its own merits. And we do it in a manner that is fair, it's unbiased, and it's conducted in a way that is respectful of everyone involved, whether that be the victim, the accused, and or any witnesses. I can also say that YRP does provide our officers with the appropriate level of oversight or governance to ensure that they are conducting their investigations in this manner. We have supervisors attend and consulted on each and every call for service involving intimate partner violence, regardless of the victim. And as well, we have, when an arrest is made, the staff sergeant at the booking police station is also engaged and reviews and approves and ensures that the case is looked after in an appropriate manner. Even beyond that, we do have an intimate partner violence unit who specializes in these types of investigations. The detective sergeant in charge of that case reviews each and every narrative or call regarding intimate partner violence to ensure that it is being handled in the appropriate manner. So I do want to share with the board and with the community that they should have confidence in YRP's commitment to properly investigating these types of incidents. I can say, having a quick look at the correspondence from Mr. Raffi, that he does reference statistics from a 2014 general survey. Any statistics that YRP refers to are based on our calls for service and or arrest. So true statistics, and also statistics that are in line with the Statistics Canada. So, and I believe at the board's comfort level or timing, YRP is prepared and looking forward to the opportunity to have our intimate partner violence unit deliver a presentation which will give a fulsome overview of how we go about responding to and investigating these types of occurrences and supporting all participants involved, be it through victim services or any other social services. So, thank you.
Thank you
Well,
very
thanks,
much.
Madam Chair. So I would just motion to receive and just refer to the chief or to Deputy Bigris. But I think when they send a letter, and I did meet with this gentleman, a very nice man and concerned. So I think it's just fitting that we kind of follow up with some loose ends, and if we can just send them something, and maybe the opportunity will come for to get together with him. But it is a little challenging right now. So I think it's just a matter that we didn't just receive it. We actually send something to them. So it'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And perhaps, Deputy, when the time comes that a presentation may take place at our board, that we could alert them of the date and hope that we're live. However, if we're not, if we're still in the virtual system that we are right now, that we could at least let them be aware that we are going to be receiving a presentation at our board meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely, we will do. And also, we have been connected with this gentleman since February of 2020, and we liaise with him on an ongoing basis.
Good. Thank you very much. We did move that one, I believe. And so we are now at item 9 on our agenda, items for consideration. And the first one, these are reports of the chief, is 9.1. Chief, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. And once again, congratulations to you and Mayor Bevilacqua in the chair and vice chair's position. We're very excited again. Once again, as you know, we've been made these lists for various years. And once again, this year for 2021, we've made the top 100 list in Canada for young people, and that's our 4th year in a row for that award. And I did message the board last, I think it was December of 2020, that these were coming. So this is just publicly to report out through the board. And it's our 6th year making the top 100 employers in the GTA in general. And it was the 2nd year that we've made the shortlist for 2021 for Canada's top 100 employers. So All that to say, none of this could be done without a supportive Police Services Board. So we collectively thank the board very much for all of your support over the years, because it's that support that allows our people to put us in positions to find our way onto these lists over the past years. So, and the one interesting tidbit on this, and maybe it was mentioned in the past, but I'll mention it again, is that we're the only police organization found here. So I hope that gives the board comfort in knowing that we're doing a lot of the right things, and we hope to continue to do that in the future. So with that, Chair, I would say the report's in front of us for your information.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Chief. It starts at the top and works its way down. And we know that you are on top of things on a regular basis, and we're very proud to be 100 employer competition of 2021. So thank you very much. Questions, comments? I'm not seeing any. Oh, Ms. Fang, do you have a question or a comment?
Just a comment, just to congratulate our chief and the ERT for continuous success on these employer awards. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ms. Fang, Mr. Purchell, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 9.2. Chief, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, through you. So this is a report to the board on the future use of 240 Prospect Street. As you know, we'll be moving to our new facility over on Harry Walker at 429 Harry Walker Parkway South in the late fall of 2021. And in past conversations, we've suggested we would be bringing a report forward to the board to formally let you know that what our plans are for 240. And in saying that, I'll turn it over to Deputy De Silva, who is quarterbacking our facilities and area to sort of lay those plans out. So over to Deputy De Silva.
Thank you, Chief, and good morning and Happy New Year to all.
Good morning.
And through you, Madam Chair, this report serves as an update on the proposed use of 240 Prospect Street once we move into our new one district on Harry Walker Parkway at the end of 2021. Retaining 240 Prospect will allow the board to reduce existing leasing costs at approximately $180,000 a year and alleviate existing space pressures at York Regional Police Headquarters. 240 Prospect Street has approximately 17,000 square feet of usable space with 72 available parking spots. Our current plan is to move 67 staff into the building, which includes professional standards, which is located currently within a leased unit, and a mixture of operational and administrative units totaling up to 6 units, and specific details of those units can be provided to the board in a private session. Our timelines currently are to hire an architect by the first quarter of the year and to commence renovations at the end of the year once we commission the new one district. And just lastly, 240 Prospect Street will continue to serve our presence within the downtown core of Newmarket and increase visibility. Subject to any questions the board may have, this is the update and the proposed use of 240 Prospect Street.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Questions of the Deputy, please.
Madam Chair, if I may, Deputy, it says 67 officers or YRP going in there. You've got quite a big building. I guess it is probably in your budget, which is fine going forward. The age of this building, Deputy?
It celebrated its 50th anniversary, I believe, last year or 2 years ago.
And is it worthwhile? Is it of value, that building? Because that's, as buildings get older, this was built back quite a few years ago. sometimes it costs you a lot more to do things, to renovate, to make it work. Is this a short-term goal, or is this a long time goal, long-term?
Currently, just to facilitate our space needs, and we did look at other properties, and when we looked at the existing property and the value that it holds to the board, from a financial perspective, it made sense to retain the building, renovate it for the immediate use, and then within the next couple of years, reevaluate the continued use of the building depending on flexible work shifts. So we have a strategy within our buildings and our capital projects that look at opportunities in the future for our buildings, and that includes 240 Prospect Street.
So going forward, you have had someone look at the building to see whether it's worthwhile renovating it to for YRP.
We have, Chairman Emerson.
Okay, so going forward, so you're saying to me maybe within the 5-year time period, you're going to have to relook and see whether this is of value to stay there, or how we relook at it. Am I understanding that right? Is that what you meant by that?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm okay, Madam Chair. I'll move the recommendation. It's just that sometimes you keep these old buildings, and they're not that doesn't make a lot of sense because of the age and how how good they are. And so I know I'm pleased you're getting rid of some leases, which is good, and bringing everybody in a little bit more into the fold, and not spaced all over the place. So but I can understand that. Just my only concern, I have to be honest with you, I haven't been by that building for quite some time, and it's right in the heart. I know that. And so anyways, I'll move it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions?
Chairman, if I could just add one more comment. Sorry if I missed it, Paulo, I apologize, but we really do see an opportunity as well, and this has been discussed at length within our own area, of keeping a visible presence in the downtown core, and this gives us the opportunity to do that as well. So that came up with some conversations I had with the mayor, and even in the past as well. So that's also part of the strategy, in keeping some visible presence downtown from a policing perspective. So anyways.
Thank you. Chair Emerson has moved this. Seeing no other questions, do I have a seconder, please? Mayor Bevilacqua, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We are at item 9.3, contract extensions for office furniture and services and performance assessment system. Go ahead. You're muted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. This is 2 extensions of contracts. And I think when you and I talked briefly prior to our meeting, for those new board members who haven't had the opportunity to meet some of our folks, I will introduce our manager of financial services, Jeff Channel, and give you a little bit of history. I know Ms. McCullough met with the ECT, so she knows all of the deputies in the areas they oversee, but may not have met, I can't recall if she met Jeff back then. So Jeff Channel oversees our financial services section, which includes our budget and control area, accounting, purchasing, alarms, and pay duty on the procurement side. So, and Jeff handles all of our contracts run through his area. So in saying that, I'll turn it over to you, Jeff, quickly.
Thank you, Chief. And quickly, these reports are required for board approval where contract extensions exceed 5 years. There are 2 in this report. The first is for furniture, which normally does, we normally do have a competition every 5 years, but due to a delay in the request for proposal process, we're asking for an 8-month bump out to allow for that process to be completed. And that is about $160,000 in additional cost. The second one is a smaller one, but we have been using Korn Ferry along with the region for our management leadership training, and they provide a 360 performance software functionality, and we're asking for an additional 5 years with Korn Ferry. Subject to any questions, that's the overview of the report.
Thank you very much. Ms. Fang, question?
Yes, just a couple quick questions, please. First, on the furniture supplier, is Staples currently the only, or we say the majority furniture supplier for YRP?
Yes, so when we make an award, that gives them exclusive to all of our furniture purchases for the term of the contract. So they have been our provider for the last 5 years. That's correct.
Okay, and so their contract cost is 160,000 for furniture, but our budget of furniture is 470,000. Can you explain the difference? It's very big cushion there.
Yes, the contract request for an additional $160,000 is our needs for the year of 2021 through October, when we will have our replacement proposal completed. So that's all we're seeking this year.
Yes, I understand, but I try to understand if the cost of the furniture from the contractor is only 160,000, why do we budget 470,000 in the budget?
Okay, my apologies then. Thank you for the clarification through you, Chair. In previous years, we may not have utilized the full budgeted amount, so there's unused contract room available to us, and that allows us with this additional $160,000 to complete the 2021 year as budgeted at about $400,000. That's correct.
Okay, and another question just with regards to Korn Ferry, not so much on the budget. I remember last meeting, the meeting before, Mafada, you please remind me or correct me. We talk about a review of the performance management system. At the time, I was not aware we already started to use 360, because I think in our discussion, one thing we feel like should be considered is something like 360. So can someone please let me know how the 360 works? Is it just for the managerial ranks, officers, ELT? How long has this process been in place? And will this be part of the overall performance management system review going forward, please?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I can speak to the use of the Korn Ferry product now. Since 2016, YRP has been partnered with York Region on leadership development training. It's called York Leads 201 and 301. So it's a select group of people. It's about 30, I shouldn't say that, it should be about 12 members in each cohort. There might be as many as 30 people using this tool in any year. We've been using it since 2016, and it's been a very, very good product, but it's not our, it's not built into our performance assessment system for everyone to date.
And maybe I can add to that. Sorry, Ms. Fang, I can add to that. I was working in training at the time with Deputy Bigra, I believe, when this tool came in for use within York Leads project, which is still ongoing with our partnership. And I can say that we have, and you may remember, Ms. Fang, there's a people and talent project ongoing at YRP that looks at all of our performance appraisals, all of our promotional processes and staff development processes, and whether there's a use for 360s within that entire process. That will all be evaluated as we move forward. This was one that was brought forward way back when York Leads first started, as we partnered with the region to develop both the senior management team on the region side and our senior leaders on the York Region Police side. The 201 program is really aimed at the mid-management area, staff sergeant area, civilian manager, assistant manager, and the 301 is our senior leader. So all of our senior officers, as well as the ECT, many of which would have participated in some of those projects as well. So that's sort of an overview of to just add on to what Jeff's already mentioned there.
Okay, thank you. So I hope at some point we can get a update of the performance system or process review.
Yes, you will get that. It's a heavy lift for the organization. We're reviewing everything and it will take some time, but the plan would be at some point when we have, no different than our next month, we'll be seeing a presentation on our new inclusion strategy. Once we have a new people and talent strategy, we would present a board report and a presentation to the board to outline all of the new changes.
Yeah, thank you. And just very quickly, instead of just looking at the final product presentation, I think it would be helpful if the board is engaged along the process as the leadership team start to look at the talent development performance review strategy and give us an update. So it's like the milestone update instead of just all the way till the end, there's a report.
Sure, we can do that along the way in periodic touch points when we have certain aspects of it moved forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding 9.3? I have a mover and a seconder, please. Ms. Fang and Ms. McCullough. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We're at 9.4, the annual report on auxiliaries and volunteers.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Through you, this is a report, an annual report on our annual report on auxiliaries and volunteers and all their activities, which comes to the board yearly, as mentioned. So I will turn it over to Deputy Hammond. The auxiliaries and our volunteer program fall under the branch of the support branch, Deputy Hammond.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. And good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. The purpose of this report is to outline the contributions made by the members of our auxiliary unit, the volunteer program, as well the chaplain program, our district community liaison committees, and our police community advisory council. As Chief has already mentioned, that these fall under the administration of the community services area. So I'll start with our auxiliaries and a little bit of history for those of you who are not aware that York Regional Police established an auxiliary unit in 1980, and it's been a very successful unit that we've had running. We have an expectation of those members to contribute approximately a minimum of 12 hours per month for a total of 144 volunteer hours per year. At the end of 2020, we had 117 auxiliary members. These members participated in a variety of events throughout York Region, and just to name a few, a couple of the highlights, our municipal winter festivals, Black History Month celebration, the community safety village fire watch, as well as supporting our recruiting unit with practice prep sessions and some training for our crowd management units. There is there's several to mention. They're all listed within the report. For the total of their contributions for this year, they have contributed over 11,000 volunteer hours to our organization. That is fantastic. I have to give a shout out to our auxiliary unit. We really lean on them and rely on their support to help us get out in the community to do the things that we do. With our volunteer program, that's administered separately from the auxiliary program. There are 11 groups contained therein. These include, just to name a few, our special events volunteers, mascots, our United and Unity figures, ceremonial unit, just to name a few. The objective of that program is to provide an opportunity for citizens to support the activities of York Regional Police in our community, and it provides our citizens an opportunity, allows them to contribute towards a safer and more inclusive York Region. The volunteers attended 51 special events for 2020. It's down a little bit for obvious reasons with COVID, there were some limitations for what both the auxiliary and our volunteers could do, but still an outstanding contribution. The total hours that they have contributed is over 8,000. And if you combine that with the volunteers with our auxiliaries, the total contribution for 2020 was almost 20,000 hours in support of York Regional Police in the community. Our chaplain program is administered also separately from the volunteer program, and York Regional Police currently has 10 volunteer chaplains. And the role of the chaplain is to provide spiritual support and guidance to our members and our organization. And all those members are encouraged to take advantage of this service. In 2020, our chaplains contributed 350 hours to York Regional Police. Moving on to the district community liaison committees, we have the two. There is Community Advisory Committee, which is run by the Organized Crime and Intelligence Services. They have a requirement to meet 4 times a year, and the total for the DCLCs, the District Community Liaison Committee, for 2020 is 327 hours that they have contributed. And for our Police Community Advisory Council, they have contributed over 46 hours to York Regional Police. So again, I have to say that we really thank these volunteers and these groups. Collectively, the auxiliary unit and the volunteer programs make a huge difference in our community by enhancing our presence and the community and building and trusting great relationships. So through you, Madam Chair, that is the report for these members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Hammond. And yes, we thank them very much as well. I'm not sure about other members of the board, but I expect that they feel the way I do. We've missed them this year, going out to a lot of events that we were able to carve out a little relationship with each one of these auxiliary or volunteers, and knew many of them, if not by name, certainly by face. And we've missed them this year. So thank you very much. It really is fantastic. Questions, comments? Ms. Fang, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Cecilia. Yes, I agree. We really appreciate the support from the auxiliary members and volunteers. Just a quick clarification, please. I think they are not paid or no expense reimbursement for these members. Is that correct?
That's correct. They are not paid. The only financial implications that are associated to any of this involves our own members, the salaries that are required to oversee the auxiliary and the volunteer groups, and their training for the auxiliaries. That's an expectation. The Police Services Act requires them to receive training, and we provide that training.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mayor Bevilacqua, Mr. Purchell, all those in favor? And that's carried. 9.5 is accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities. Chief, go ahead, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, through you, very brief. It's a report pursuant to the Police Services Board Governance Accessibility Policy. It provides an overview on any inquiries we've had. As you know, the accessibility standard for customer service came into effect January 1st, 2008. And as being part of a municipality and a designated area, public service, we are required to follow that standard, which we do. During 2020, there was only one feedback from the public regarding York Regional Police's provision of goods and services to persons with disabilities, specifically directed to our website. And the answer was provided to that member through corporate communications. And we continue to work through the regional municipality of York on the accessibility on AODA compliance. And we're in very good shape at York Regional Police. And we'll continue to take a proactive approach to improve accessibility for those members in the community that we serve. And that's it from the report.
Thank you very much. Questions of the chief? Ms. Fang, you have a question?
I'll move it.
Oh, you'll move it. You'll move it. Very good. And a seconder? Mayor Bevilacqua? Thank you very much. All those in favor? And that's carried. Item 9.6, quality assurance process. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, through you. It's a report for information. As you know, our quality assurance process was approved January 23rd, 2008, been amended throughout the years, and to ensure that we are in compliance with the requirements of adequacy standards and effective governance and regulations within the organization. It falls under the executive branch, so I'll turn it over to Superintendent Randy Slade, who's my executive officer. He has some highlights just to provide from the report for you. So Randy, over to you.
Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, and through you. I just wanted to highlight a couple of the areas that align with the conducting of audits and reviews in this area. So of the 3 audits, 2 property evidence and the Ministry of Transportation's inquiries service systems, they resulted in a number of administrative recommendations which have been implemented. The 3rd audit, the street checks, will be coming to the board in March. To highlight what they've actually accomplished, there was 105 chief's orders posted throughout 2020. 55 procedures were revised and updated. 2 new procedures were developed, 121 forms revised and developed, and 179 all chiefs memorandums were reviewed and disseminated. So subject to any questions, that's it in regards to the quality assurance process.
Thank you very much. Ms. Fang, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Randy. Just for my own education, please, I want to understand a little bit of this audit process. I draw a comparison with the financial institutions. There's internal audit and then there's external audit. So for this audit, it's more on operational side, not financial. Are they done by our own internal audit team, or there's an external audit or by the region's audit team?
They're done by the unit that reports to me through the quality assurance and risk management area.
So it's our internal audit team?
Yes.
Has there ever been any external audit, or it's not required?
That is not a requirement. There are at times when the ministry does come in and conduct audits, but that is done yearly. And I believe the chief might be able to answer this, is that they're pretty well laid out in stone as to which areas they're covering annually.
Yes, so Ms. Fang, that's correct what Randy says. Periodically, there's an external audit through, it could be a ministry audit or whatever, and then our folks will work with the ministry to ensure the audit process is carried out at this end on the YRP side, and they are provided all the information they require. And then we would receive a report back from the outside agency like the ministry to provide recommendations of which we would change or not. So, and I see Mafalda has a hand up there, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I was just going to add to the chief's point. At the same time, the Police Services Board is also audited. Its adequacy standards policy are audited at the same time as the police audit by the province.
Okay, thank you. So on the financial audit, I guess that's under Jeff, right? Jeff, you have your internal auditor, and then you also have an external auditor.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Our external audit, the region contracts with KPMG, and that will be upcoming in the spring. We typically provide the audited outcomes to the board in June. And correct, we internally, we have 3 levels of internal controls that we oversee from an internal basis.
Great, thank you. Back to you, Virginia.
Thank you very much. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mayor Bevilacqua, Mr. Purchell, all those in favor? And that's carried. Chief, are there any other items to cover at this time?
Madam Chair, I believe, yeah, so There was a request through the board for an update on, I believe, COVID. I don't know if we're there yet or if you have other items you need to address first.
I'm not there yet,
Okay.
but I have you listed to bring a report, a brief presentation.
Okay, so it's at number 12, so I'll wait until my turn. But other than that, there's no further reports for the public.
Thank you very much. With that, we will move to item 10 on our agenda, and these are items for consideration reports from the executive director. Mafalda, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is the last report is a good segue into this one. You'll find in the attached.
Could you speak up just a little bit more? I don't know if I'm the only one that is hearing you very, very softly.
I'm just going to put on my volume here a little bit louder. How's that?
Better for me.
Better?
Everyone else better?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. The attached report and appendix outlines a summary of the list of reports which were submitted to the board by the chief in 2020 in order for the board to fulfill its statutory obligations of oversight and good governance practices. At this time, there were no exceptions in 2020. All the required reports were received by the board. Any questions with that update?
Thank you. Questions? I'm not seeing any at this time. With that, if there are, go ahead, Ms. Fang, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mafalda. Just a quick question on the status. When you say received, is that received by you or received by the board? If it's received by the board, where will we see this report?
Where it says received, it's been received by the board. The motion may not be received. It may be another motion, perhaps approved or whatever the case may be, but the board received that report at its board meeting. This is all through its board meetings in the course of the year.
Okay. I do remember lots of the reports we discussed, but some of the reports initially doesn't ring a bell. Then I think it'll be helpful on the status received, connect to the board date. Then it'll be easy for us to go to the reference board archive material, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Mr. Purchell, would you move that for us, please? And Ms. McCullough? All those in favor? And that's carried. Go ahead, Mafalda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the board is aware, and for the benefit of our newer board members, sections 132 and 133 of the Police Services Act give police boards in Ontario the authority or the ability to use the proceeds from the sale of unclaimed personal property and money found and seized by the police service for any purpose that it chooses to do, any purpose that it considers is in the public's interest. The board has a policy that basically outlines how these funds are to be used. And over the years, the board has made significant investments from this fund in organizations that support community safety and well-being and programs that support partnerships with York Regional Police. The closing balance of the reserve on December 31st was just over $166,000. And the request before you is from Yellow Brick House. The board has supported Yellow Brick House for many years, as many of you are aware. And this past year, obviously, has been a very difficult, a very challenging year. And the figures as presented in the Yellow Brick House submission are showing an increase in their calls for support, and an increase in their calls for counseling. And they're also seeing an increase in domestic violence cases during COVID. And after speaking with the chief and YRP, They're also seeing an uptick in reported cases based on some early data of domestic violence. So with that, I am recommending a community champion sponsorship in the amount of $10,000 from the board's public relations fund account for the Yellow Brick House's Break the Silence virtual gala, which I believe is taking place in February.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Ms. Avellino? Mayor Bevilacqua, go ahead, please. You're muted. You're muted. We want to
Can you hear
catch.
me? Can you hear
We
me?
want to catch everything you're saying.
Okay, no, I'm just saying I would move that if you like.
Thank you. Thank you. And do I have a seconder? Mr. Cooper, go ahead. Thank you. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor? And that's carried. Are there any other items, Ms. Avellino?
No unfinished business, but we do have an item under other business.
Thank you very much. We'll move along. There's no unfinished business. Item 11 on our agenda. There is other business on number 12, and that would be 12.1. And Chief, you alluded to this item a little earlier, and this is regarding protocols and procedures for the COVID-19 pandemic. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so I thought what we would do briefly was provide the board with an update on how we're managing outside the organization, on how we're working with the community, and then I'll turn it over to Deputy Hammond, who is overseeing the COVID response team on the inside of the organization, to talk about safety protocols and how that's worked out throughout the year and where we are. So as you all know, January 14th of this year at 12:01, the government issued the stay-at-home order under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. It left a lot of police organizations trying to work on how do we respond to this in the most effective way. Luckily for us, we have a very good relationship and partnership, and we've been collaborating with the region, public health, the Ministry of Labor, the 9 bylaws departments to manage through how do we deal with the enforcement of these orders, but also in the best way possible. Other police services actually struggled with a little bit of this as well, and I personally spoke to various chiefs who, and we put our corporate communications folks together to come up with a strategy to communicate out to the community on how we were going to move forward. So what came of that was, and as you know or may know, there's a task force in the region right now made up of the various partners I just mentioned, and we are part of that task force. We provide a supporting role, but we also provide a lead role in some areas dependent on the circumstances. If it's a call for service, we take the lead, we deal with the call for service, but we engage the partners along the way to make sure we're doing it in the most appropriate way. So what came out of that, going back to the corporate communications and the communication through the OACP, was a strategy through various police services on how we would effectively deal with the stay-at-home order. And the strategy was to deal with it from what they've termed the 4 E's, which is to engage with the public, explain why you're there, educate on the rules and regulations, and as a last resort, enforce. And sometimes enforce becomes something that is done right out of the gate or initially. It's just dependent on the situation, and every one of these circumstances is very dependent on the situation on the outside. So as an example, I will just tell you that the COVID-19 does enforcement of those collaborative groups continues throughout the region. And between January 18th and January 24th alone, there were 2,204 inspections with 26 charges being laid during that period of time. And the various partners played different roles and laid charges under the various different areas, of which YRP laid 5 of those 24 charges. So that's just a high-level overview there. I can also tell you that we report to the Ministry of the Solicitor General with information around the EMAC process and the reopening of Ontario Act charges and warnings and cautions and all of the work we're doing. So the past week, for example, we had 126 calls for service requiring 137 hours of police time. And the total call for service now from March of 2020 is 5,274 calls related specifically to this. In terms of, so there are various types of calls that come into the call center around this. And I'll say most of them relate to social distancing, and they're broken down into various categories. So regular social distancing issues, issues around social distancing in residences where we get calls from people housing parties and things like that. We've had 3 from religious institutions, and those can be, difficult to manage because it's not the easiest thing to have to go into a religious institution and tell them to shut down. So we obviously are very sensitive to those areas, and we try and manage through as best we can with our partners engaged as well. And that's really important from an education perspective that we're all working on this together. Outdoor businesses and we continue to get calls around those areas specific to social distancing. Then there's non-essential businesses, people that are not self-isolating, and we routinely are tasked with doing various compliance checks on those that should be on 14-day quarantine orders based on travel or otherwise. So I think we have well over 500 calls looking at or checking on over 805 people over the various time frame as well. So we're engaged in various levels at various intersecting points. And again, it really is a collaborative effort with the region and the various partners for us from the policing standpoint on the enforcement and education component of both acts. So so that's on the outside of the organization. If there's any questions, I can take it at the end. But before I go on, I'll tell you on the inside of YRP what we're doing. And in saying that, I'll turn it over to Deputy Hammond.
Thank you, Chief. Inside the organization, right from the onset of this pandemic in March, we put together a team that we're calling the COVID management team. And it's a group of people from various areas of the organization with a certain specialty or skill sets, from the health and safety perspective, wellness, emergency management specialists. So they meet 2 times a week. And on the onset of this pandemic in March, we would follow a lot of their recommendations. And to be safe, we did send as many of our members who could work from home in March to work from home. And we provided them with the technological needs for them to be able to do their job from home. So obviously that wouldn't have been people in the frontline capacity, but certainly a large area of our civilian membership were able to do that. And that was done so in order to keep them safe. And at that time, for these foreign members that were not in a position to be able to work from home, we set aside a reserve deployment at that time where it was done on a rotational basis of a 14-day period to ensure that those members that were sent home on reserve, they were to stay home and keep themselves healthy, so that if we did end up in a situation where we had an outbreak in the organization, that we would have them return to work, and that way it wouldn't interfere with any of our operational capacity. Since then, though, I would say that what we've learned about the pandemic and everything that has evolved moving forward, throughout the summer, the numbers changed. We were not required to have that reserve deployment, so we started bringing people back in. And that would go for both the civilian members. So we started bringing more people in. However, we invested in the building structure itself and some plexiglass needs and extra hand sanitizing stations so that we can ensure that members are following the rigorous protocol. They are required, all members, all of us are required to do a self-screening at the start of every day on the computer just to make sure that they are not exhibiting any symptoms, and that is monitored by a real-time operations center. So if anybody does click yes to a certain thing, then that gets redirected to the health and safety specialist, and then they go through some Q&A with that member, and if they meet a certain criteria, then they'd be sent home. Our members that are interacting with the community on a regular basis are required to wear a face covering. And if they're interacting with a member of the community that was known to be COVID positive or suspected to be or in any way symptomatic, then the direction is that they're required to wear their full PPE. And PPE for us means 3, and that is your goggles, your face covering or a proper mask, a surgical mask, and gloves. So that is in the direction for our frontline members in that situation. What we did was we made sure that our officers were not riding in 2 officer cars to keep them separate. And in the situations where there was no reason to believe somebody that they were interacting with was COVID positive, then the expectation was a face covering. We since have evolved to ensuring that the members are not wearing just the face covering. We have just moved to having them wear a surgical mask, and that has been a result of recent things that we all know with the UK variant and that it's highly contagious. So we've made the choice to have all of our members wear only the surgical mask, and that's in a situation where they can also respect the physical distancing. In terms of the training perspective, that's one thing we did in-house. We had a complete overhaul of all of our training and looked at what was essential and what was a requirement, whether it was a provincial adequacy standard, and made some modifications to that training so that the classes were smaller and we were able to continue having our members go through what they were required to receive training on in such a way that it was done safely. Flexible work scheduling was also rolled out. And all these things have really had a very successful outcome. We have managed to avoid having any other than 5 workplace spread inside the organization since March. I think that would be that's a very positive result. So that's what we've done in-house, subject to any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions? Mr. Purchell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been, in full disclosure, I've been involved in training, managing, and educating in this field for a long time. I commend you on the procedures that you've established. I think you've done excellent work, and that particular statistic you gave us at the end is very, very important, very telling. My concern is that we are now into year 1 of this pandemic, but we have, in the best case scenario, at least 6 months to go, and the worst of it is likely to be over the course of the next 3 to 4 months. As you noted, Deputy Chief, the Roberta place is a cautionary tale because we have already been exposed to the UK variant. We expect that UK variant will proliferate throughout the communities. We can expect that other variants and other mutations, simply as a normal course of viral mutations, are going to occur. And that is to say that we can also expect the number of infections and the number of calls for service, particularly from all first responders, but most particularly the police service, is going to increase. I think there are 2 issues here. That the degree of preparedness you've established is certainly, again, to be commended by you. There is another aspect of this, and that is the continuing distress, the stress and distress psychologically that is imposed on members. To me, this is roughly analogous of sending soldiers out on patrol in an IED-infested environment. The reality is that every time you do send officers out to make calls or to deal with distress, you are not only dealing with the call itself and the conditions of the call, but the attendant difficulties that the member will experience in the course of that with respect to his own concerns about health and his or her own concerns about what that means for their families and their colleagues. The other thing that's happening is we have seen that as the community continues to struggle with this, as they become increasingly tired of the various mandates that are imposed at the provincial level, that there is going to be, in my estimation, an increased lack of compliance in a number of areas, therefore an increased demand. And most particularly, that will manifest in not only the proliferation of infections throughout the community, but demand again on first responder services and also our medical capacity within the region. I'm inclined to believe from what I have seen from the Premier's comments that he is extremely concerned about how large that impact is likely to be over the course of the next several months, most particularly the capacity of the province to respond in terms of medical services and medical care. I believe that one of the things that will need to be addressed on an increasing basis is a growing degree of friction within hospitals themselves. And that is the interface of larger demand and decreasing capability on the part of hospitals in particular, and that would apply to all of the hospitals in the region and certainly beyond. I am inclined to believe that there is a need to apply a principle that has served well historically in the application and management of these circumstances, and particularly pandemic, and that is a thing called the precautionary principle that you're all well aware of. The precautionary principle has not been well managed by many of us in terms of countries, in terms of the overall management of the pandemic, and it has largely been more impactful than one would have hoped it could have been. I think that it is important that consideration be given to every possible step ahead of the disease and its progression as opposed to where we are today. I know that on the basis of your report, you have done those things. Again, I commend you for what you have done and for the work that you have done. I simply leave this with a word of caution. The worst is yet to come. We are all going to be profoundly challenged by this, and the precautionary principle will be well applied in terms of all and every measure that can be used to mitigate this disease over the course of the next 6 months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Purcell.
Sorry,
Deputy-
Madam Chair, Mr. Purcell, thank you. I just want to say that just as a further example to add on to what Deputy Hammond had said as well, the pre-planning along the way is actually a big part of that COVID response team. And that pre-planning, when there are recommendations for the organization to take further action or steps, usually, and Cecile can confirm, but usually what will happen is the members, the lead of the COVID response team with Cecile will bring it to the entire executive command team, and we'll make decisions as we go. And usually those decisions are made sometimes quickly, sometimes not so quick, but always in the best interest of the health and safety of everyone. And that's sort of how it works. And usually it's well before, or at least as best we can plan before, we see it manifests itself out in the community. No different than what you've said about, the tolerance level in the community. We've seen that in some calls already where people are pushing back. And, that's why that coordinated response through our task force is so important to us, as well as all of the various partners, because we can't turn, or we don't believe it's the right thing to do to turn us into, what could be viewed as a police state. But at the same time, we need to enforce the orders and do our best. So we're all in it together situation seems to work best, and we'll continue to move that way. But I just wanted to add that in there as to how the planning's done.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, and I appreciate that. And I would only add to that's exactly that. The COVID command team, it does do its very best to keep on top of trends and research and keep ahead of whatever curve we're about to roll into, so that they can bring forward the recommendation for the review of the executive command team. I also just would like to touch on Mr. Portfolio comment with respect to the wellness piece. That is something that's very important to all of us as the executive command team, and a big part of the COVID response team is that we have member wellness top of mind, because this is a stress, as you said, to our members who are interacting with the community every day and worried, having some concerns about taking things home to their own families. So we actually have, as part of our wellness project, there is embedded programs to ensure that our members are taken care of. So a hotline has been set up as well. That if there's anybody that needs some support from our peer support areas, we are ahead of that to make sure that they're mentally well, not only just physically.
Purcell, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, I wanted to commend the chief, the deputy, and the work that has been done. My concern, again, is the worst is yet to come. The degree of friction all the way around is going to increase dramatically. The challenge is going to be profound. And again, I am delighted that you have done all the work that you have in anticipation of all of the challenges that are yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions, comments? Ms. Fang, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Cecile and Jim. Just a quick question, please. Can you please let us know where our members are in terms of vaccination? Because I think at least our frontline facing members, where do they stand in this line of vaccination, please?
Cecile, I can turn it over to you for that one. We talked about it today, so.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ms. Fang. Where we stand with our members is that we have gauged the organization through a confidential survey with respect to who would be interested in getting the vaccine. So we have the numbers of those people and who they are, but it's kept confidentially. What we've done is we've prioritized the members based on their deployment. So first line responders, people interacting with community, would be the first in the queue, and then they've got a process to follow once the vaccine programs are rolled out. And as it stands right now, as of yesterday, and I shared this with the chief, there are starting opportunities for public health to reach out to us to say that they've got a couple of vaccines that they need to use by the end of the day. And if the people in the public that were the other emergency responders, whether it's through fire, EMS, or the hospitals, for whatever reason didn't come for their appointment, we get a notification, and we are able to instantly respond by looking at that list and getting a member out to get vaccinated. So quick fact, yesterday was the first day we got that call, and we were actually able to send 2 of our members. So it's early days, but we anticipate that these are going to start trickling in. So we hope that we're at the feet of public health and of course the government with respect to when all the vaccines will be in. But we are hoping that, and all indications are pointing that at least it will be more robustly rolled out by April for our frontline members.
Okay. Thank you. So it's April.
Yes, April, barring any other interruption in the delivery of the vaccines, which we all know is a conversation in the media now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Cooper, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Deputy Hammond, I'm curious if we are discussing at all vaccine hesitancy amongst all of our staff. I'm wondering if that's been an issue. And I would only say that, taking a page from working where I work the rest of the time at Canada's largest long-term care home, we have undertaken a very well thought out campaign to promote the vaccine. And just wondering if you could speak to that as well too, and what we are doing about vaccine hesitancy amongst staff.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Certainly, it's a conversation that's being had, but with the online confidential, if you want to call it survey sign up that we had, we were pleasantly surprised to see that we've roughly, at this point anyway, over 60% of the organization has, and that was as of last week, up to date, has volunteered to get that. But in terms of a corporate messaging strategy about encouraging people to get it, we have always been ahead with putting out some messaging for, at least when it started with the app, about encouraging our members to stay safe, download the app for the COVID exposure. Moving forward, the strategy is once the vaccine is more available, we will be working on an opportunity through our corporate communications to post something to encourage our members, quell their nerves. But again, it is voluntary, but I'm pretty satisfied that the numbers we've got right now, there will be some people that are reluctant, but hopefully we'll be able to bring them around with some better messaging, as you've done in your organization.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? I'm not seeing any. I assume that no sooner do we finish our meeting than there will be other questions regarding. So as always, the chief's available and deputy to answer something that may come up later on. So thank you very much. Mr. Purchell, would you move that item, please? Thank you. And seconder, Mr. Cooper, thank you very much. All those in favor? And that's carried. That concludes the agenda that we have for public items. And the next would be to move into a private session at this point. Is there anything public before we move? Seeing none, I would require a motion to convene in private meeting for the purpose of considering confidential items pertaining to legal